What do a sugar-addicted king, a coffin-dragging queen, and a paranoid butcher have in common? They all ruled Europe, and none of them made it out with their dignity. One ate himself to death. One married a corpse. One murdered his son and kept going. First up, the 1700s. Sweden had a king named Adolf Frederick, who basically died from desert. He wasn't stabbed, he wasn't poisoned. He just ate himself into the grave. Lobster, caviar, sauerkraut, champagne, then 14 semler buns in warm milk. That night he died. The royal report called it digestive problems. Translation, his gut detonated like a pastry-filled grenade. Next, the 1500s. Joanna of Castile lost her husband, so she brought his corpse everywhere. Dragged the coffin through Spain like it was luggage, slept beside it, screamed if anyone came near. She even posted guards to keep other women from seducing the body. And the weirdest part? She was locked away by her own father and son. Not for the corpse thing, but because she was too weird to control. Finally, Russia. Same century, different nightmare. Ivan, the Terrible. Crowned young, went full paranoia fast, built his own black-robed death squad on horseback, beat his pregnant daughter-in-law, then killed his own son in a fit of rage, then cried, then ordered more executions. Tomorrow we're in South America. Join the cult. Push the red button. What do a sun-worshipping corpse hoarder, a war-mad Napoleon fanboy, and a professor with a death cult have in common? They all tried to rule South America, and none of them made it out with their dignity. One ruled from beyond the grave, one got half his country killed, one banned dancing and bombed the funeral. First, the 1500s. The Inca Empire was the largest in the Americas, stretching 2,500 miles from modern-day Colombia to Chile. Its ruler? Huayna Capac, a man they called divine. He had gold goblets, a harem of hundreds, and a habit of burying enemy chiefs alive. But when smallpox crossed the Andes, it didn't care about gold. His skin blistered, tongue blackened. He died choking on his own blood. But the Incas didn't bury him. They mummified him, dressed him in royal robes, and brought his corpse to meetings, literally sitting in judgment beside the living. His dead body ruled longer than some emperors. Next, the 1860s. Francisco Solano Lopez, president of Paraguay, styled himself as the Latin Napoleon. He had the outfit, the ego, and eventually the war. He picked a fight with Brazil, Argentina, and Uruguay all at once. Within months, Paraguay was a graveyard. Children were sent into battle with sticks. His own generals were shot for surrendering. Entire villages wiped off the map. By the war's end, over half of Paraguay's population was dead. Lopez, still wearing his sash, bleeding from a dozen wounds, yelling, "I die with my country." Yeah, mate, you butchered it first. Finally, the 1980s. Peru's universities gave birth to something worse than a dictator. Abimael Guzman, a philosophy professor, started Shining Path, a Maoist death cult masquerading as revolution. He banned voting, dancing, religion. He bombed markets, executed farmers, shot teachers in front of classrooms. One town held a funeral. Guzman sent a bomb. His followers called him Chairman Gonzalo. The rest of the country called him Terror Incarnate. And when police finally caught him, hiding in a laundry basket, they displayed him on national TV like a slaughtered hog. Tomorrow? Africa. Royal madness. Cannibal kings. Blood-stained diamonds. Join the cult. Push the red button. What do a warrior queen with a morning body count, a dictator who stored heads like trophies, and a monarch who boiled her enemies for sport have in common? They all ruled Africa, and none of them left quietly. One bathed in blood, one dined on death, one outlawed mercy. First, Nigeria, 16th century. Queen Amina of Zazzau didn't just conquer kingdoms, she collected men. Each night, a new lover. Each morning, a corpse. She led 20,000 warriors through the Sahara in iron armor, burned villages to light her path, and used enemy skulls as building material. She'd order city walls built around every conquest and named them after herself, dozens of them, across what's now northern Nigeria. They called her a goddess. Her enemies just called her death. Next, Uganda, 20th century. Idi Amin, the man who called himself the last king of Scotland. He ruled with charm, cruelty, and a hunger for absolute control. He threw dissidents into the Nile, ordered mass executions in soccer stadiums, kept his enemies' severed heads in his fridge, once sent a letter to the Queen of England asking to marry her. His paranoia was legendary. He wore bulletproof robes, disguised body doubles, and allegedly ate human flesh, calling it salty. He didn't rule a country, he devoured it. Finally, Madagascar, 19th century. Ranavalona I. A queen so feared her own court whispered her name. She banned Christianity, burned converts alive, invented poison trials, drink the tangina, vomit chicken skin, or die. She ordered entire families off cliffs just to silence rumors. Over half the population perished under her reign. Millions vanished. She ruled alone for 33 years, unchallenged, unrepentant, and unblinking. When foreign powers came knocking, she smiled, then slaughtered their envoys. She didn't need allies, she had terror. Tomorrow, we go east. Different continent, same madness. The cult meets daily. Push the red button. What do a mercury-guzzling emperor, a skull-stacking warlord, and a sultan with a thing for 300 women have in common? They all ruled Asia, and none of them made it out with their sanity. One drank poison chasing immortality. One killed millions. One drowned a harem for fun. First, China. 3rd century BCE. Qin Shi Huang didn't just unite China. He declared himself a god. He banned criticism, buried scholars alive, and rewrote history to begin with himself. Obsessed with living forever, he sent expeditions across the sea to find magic islands. He took mercury pills daily because his doctors told him it might work. Instead, it fried his brain. He grew paranoid, twitchy, lost his grip, then dropped dead, poisoned by the very cure. His tomb? Still unopened, booby-trapped, sealed under a hill said to contain rivers of mercury. And outside, 8,000 silent soldiers of the Terracotta Army waiting to defend a corpse from enemies and time. Next, Central Asia, 14th century. Tamerlane, known as Timur the Lame. He limped. His armies didn't. He claimed Genghis Khan as an ancestor, then tried to outdo him in body count. He conquered Persia, Syria, India, and left mountains of skulls behind. Literally, 90,000 in Delhi, 20,000 in Aleppo. He once walled up 2,000 prisoners, alive, and left them to suffocate. When a city resisted, he burned it to the ground and salted the earth. By the end of his reign, 17 million were dead. That's 1 in 20 humans alive at the time. His empire collapsed after his death, as if the planet had to recover. Finally, the Ottoman Empire. 17th century. Sultan Ibrahim I. Locked in a cage for most of his life, he finally became sultan, and immediately lost his mind. He stuffed his palace with fur, perfume, and enormous concubines, some weighing over 300 pounds. He appointed his favorite lover, known only as Sugar Cube, to a position of power. But when whispers of betrayal reached him, he had 280 women from his harem tied up in silk sacks and thrown into the Bosporus, all in one day. His own court called him mad. Eventually they'd had enough. He was deposed, imprisoned, then strangled to death. And not a single tear was shed. Tomorrow, we're heading to Oceania for some island cults, wild prophets. Join the cult, push the red button. What do a chief who took his whole court to the grave, a prophet king who drank himself holy, and a man who kept a stone for every person he ate, have in common? They all ruled Oceania, and their legends are as strange as the islands themselves. One buried loyalty alive. One bought visions with rum. One set a world record for human appetite. First, Vanuatu, 1600s. Chief Roy Mata united islands and commanded loyalty like a god. When he died, tradition turned into tragedy. His court, wives, warriors, servants were interred with him in a single enormous burial. Centuries later, archaeologists pulled up a quiet mass grave and a story that's part reverence, part massacre. He didn't just rule the living, he took his world with him. Next, Tahiti, early 1800s. Pomare Tooth, part warlord, part teetotaling showman in public, part drunk prophet in private. He'd paint his face for battle, then stagger to the chapel and claim divine visions, usually after a night of rum. He mixed Christianity and old rites, preaching prophecy between swigs and using faith as armor for conquest. People bowed. He drank. The gods shrugged. Finally, Fiji, mid-1800s. Ratu Udre Udre, the cannibal king. a powerful chief who made ritual cannibalism part of his power play and allegedly kept a stone for every person he consumed. Accounts differ on the horror and the numbers, but the tale stuck. A ruler who literally measured his victories by the stones at his feet. He died wealthy and infamous, the kind of ruler you can't forget. Tomorrow, we sail to the Americas. More power, more madness, same bizarre history. Join the cult, we meet daily. Push the red button. What did a death-obsessed Haitian dictator, a self-proclaimed emperor of the United States, and a short-lived Mexican monarch have in common? They all wore the crown and lost their grip on reality. In the late 1950s, Francois Papa-Doc Duvalier ruled Haiti with an iron fist and the eerie swagger of a voodoo death spirit. He dressed like Baron Samedi, complete with top hat and dark glasses, claiming mystical powers that could curse enemies into the grave. His private militia, the Tonton Macoute, enforced his will with ruthless precision, blurring the line between politics and the supernatural until the whole nation lived in fear of both. A century earlier, Joshua Norton, an eccentric San Francisco resident, decided America needed an emperor, and that it should be him. Proclaiming himself Norton, the first emperor of the United States and protector of Mexico, he issued imperial decrees ordering Congress to dissolve, demanded a bridge be built across the bay decades before it existed, and printed his own currency, which local businesses actually accepted. With no army, no power, and no crown beyond his imagination, he became a beloved figure in the city, his reign both absurd and strangely endearing. Then came Agustín de Iturbide, the military hero who helped free Mexico from Spain, only to crown himself emperor in 1822. Obsessed with pomp and ceremony, he showered his family with noble titles and insisted on imperial grandeur while the nation's economy collapsed. When Congress began to push back, he simply dissolved it, ruling alone until public anger boiled over. Within a year he was overthrown, exiled, lured back and executed. Still wearing the trappings of the throne, he refused to give up. From black magic to harmless fantasy to self-destructive arrogance, these were the last people who should have worn the crown. And while our Mad Monarchs world tour ends here, next week we step into stranger territory, myths and legends from around the globe where the rulers aren't always real, but the stories are even more bizarre. Join the cult. We meet daily. Push the red button.